Hi friends, my name is Maya. I run a studio in Berlin called Pottery to the People. I have a very special video for you today because I'm going to be showing you around my home studio. This is something that I think a lot of people think about while they're first getting into pottery. They're setting up their pottery space in their home. I'm going to show you what I do in my home. As a professional ceramicist, I do have my own studio away from my home. That's where I do most of my work. But when I'm filming these videos, I actually film them all from here because I want to show you what's really possible to do just in your home. There's a whole world out there of hand building techniques that you can do with really minimal materials just from your home, and that's what I really want to encourage in these videos. I should mention that I neither have a kiln or a wheel in my home. Because I have my own studio, I'm always transporting my pottery to my studio for firing. So if you're waiting for the moment where I open the door and suddenly my kiln is there, that's not coming. But I think most of you guys probably don't have a kiln in your home either. As for the wheel, I don't actually have space in my tiny apartment for a wheel, but if you're interested in having a wheel at home, it's definitely possible. I will have a link to a video down below that I did a few months ago about my tips on how you can have a wheel at home. So my home is the hand building zone. So let me show you around. Just a little context before we get started. I live in a studio apartment with my husband and my dog, so it's not actually a lot of space. And what I've really tried to push in this home studio is to be efficient with my space as much as possible. So I've given myself some constraints that I have to work within. And this is something I definitely recommend if you don't want your pottery studio taking over your whole space, because it can and it will if you don't give it some boxes to live within. Definitely set yourself some constraints, right? Living space, working space, etc. Okay, so let's just start with my working table. So this table here is not only my filming table, my office table, it's also our dining table. So it functions multi-purpose. I usually pull it out a little bit when I'm filming, just so I can set everything up. And I'm filming against this backdrop, which you can see I've recently painted. So I finally painted my wardrobes, and hopefully that will be a nice backdrop to set against my videos. This is Peanut's little spot down here. So yeah, this is how it normally looks. I mean, I've tidied up my desk a little bit. So this is usually where I'm working and sitting and editing my videos and also doing all of the other admin work that I have to do for the studio. And I've got some like vision board-y planning stuff up here that's top secret, so I'm not going to be showing you that. To the right is actually my bed, believe it or not. One thing though about having your bed so close to your workplace is you need to be extra vigilant about keeping things clean. Hopefully you know by now that clay dust is not so good to breathe in, and it's one thing to be breathing it in all day at the studio while you're working, but it's another thing to be breathing it consistently throughout the entire day and also at nighttime too. So to prevent clay dust, always clean wet, so use a wet sponge or a wet rag. Don't sweep, rather mop, and actually don't use a conventional vacuum cleaner either before you've mopped if you have a lot of clay dust on the floor, because conventional vacuum cleaners don't actually pick up this super fine dust. That's the stuff that you actually need to worry about. So if you have a load of dust on the floor, I would rather just like mop it up with a sponge or a rag first and then go over it with the vacuum cleaner and keep the windows open while you're doing it. So I do keep my wedging board here stuffed behind the wardrobe. This is just because it doesn't fit with the other pottery studio stuff, so I just like to stash it out of the way. Okay, so here over on the bookshelf is where I keep all of the pottery supplies. I have one box here. This is all my pottery tools, and this is actually filled with camera equipment. So I have the same exact amount of camera equipment as I do pottery supplies. And here's Peanut's plots here. This is the basket that I use to transport the pottery. And let's get into these boxes. So these are really all of the tools I have for pottery. I have two wear boards. These are just, I don't know, I guess they're MDF boards probably. But these are just good for like if you're working with slabs or if you just like need a surface to put your pots on. I definitely recommend having some of these boards. I've got a rag for cleaning. I've got an apron. So, okay, this is also full of clay too. So let me just move all the clay. All that's clay, so it's not actually very full anymore. I keep the separate bags of clay for the different types of clay, and then also I'll keep a bag full of reclaim, things that I want to start recycling, and the fresh stuff. So, in addition to the clay, I've got this cloth here that you see in some of my videos when I do like slab molds or press molds. I'm going to be using this cloth. Have you settled yourself? So these are 2 jars of slip that I have for the 2 different types of clay. So slip is what you use for glue in clay, and it's just dried clay mixed with water. Okay, we have a rolling pin. I have my 2 thickness gauges here. This is also for making slabs. These are 1/2 centimeter thick, and I find that these to be pretty versatile. If I need it thicker, I can actually stack them and then they become 1 centimeter. Ta-da! Okay, I don't even know where to start. So there's just a bunch of like tiny tools in here actually. I've got a wire tool. I've got a couple different kinds of carving tools. Actually, these are the same kind. For some reason I have 2. And then I've got a smaller one. I think I brought this home when I did the paint palette tutorial because I needed a thinner trimming tool, and so I just kept it. I've got a scoring tool and a knife. This is a knife that I stole from my kitchen. Everything else I stole from the studio, but this is actually my kitchen knife that has become a pottery knife. Also from the kitchen is this spoon. I don't know, it's just useful to have a spoon sometimes in pottery. A paintbrush for the slip. And then I just have this one. You settled that. Okay. I just have this one shaping tool. I find that this is really all I need. I mean, I use my finger for most of the shaping anyway, so this is good enough to like get into the cracks. I have a needle tool and 2 pencils for some reason. I like to use pencils for signing my work. I don't really like to use the needle tool because it has such a thin line. I like this more like robust line when I'm signing my work, so that's why I have pencils in here. I have some of these guys for just closing my clay bags. A rib. This is something you're gonna see in like all of my videos. Like I use the rib constantly. Sponge, a small sponge, and a little dish. This is for when I need to like add water or something. And that's it. And a lot of dust in here. I should probably wipe this out now. I'm not gonna bother getting a bucket for my home studio because I can always borrow from my kitchen a pot. So you'll find me a lot using pots and stuff. If there's an item that you need and you don't have in your studio, the first place you should look is the kitchen. And really, that's all I have. I mean, it's really that simple. You don't need a lot of tools to get started with pottery. You just need the basics, you need the clay, and you need a place to fire your work. Now, about firing, I do have a video that I will link down below that explains how you can go about working with a professional potter and finding a kiln in your area, where you can look for, how you can ask, those types of topics. So definitely go check that out. But after that, you just need the clay, the tools, get started. So that's it for me today. I hope you enjoyed that video. If you want to learn more about me and my studio, you can find me over at Pottery to the People on Instagram. Otherwise, I will see you in the next video. Bye, friends. If you are wondering what this tiny table is here on the floor, my friends, if you are a shorty like I am and you don't have a footstool, you gotta get yourself one. Seriously, I will just sit here and put my feet on the stool and it feels so much more comfortable than having my feet hang over the edge of the chair. Seriously, I'm so short that my feet don't touch the ground fully, like the toes of my feet touch the ground. So it can cut off my blood supply in my legs. So I've discovered the glory of a footstool. My God, is it life-changing.